Welcome to New Home, Now What? Module 1, Maintaining Your Home. I'm Rachel, part of the HomeWise training team. Thank you so much for joining me today. We have a lot of great information prepared for you. We're going to discuss a wide range of maintenance-related topics, including all levels of maintenance, which include preventative, repairs, and home improvement. We'll tour a home with our construction manager, Eugene, for basic maintenance of a home walkthrough. We'll also have a visit from the Santa Fe Fire Department to discuss safety and security tips. I'll teach you a little bit about insurance, what to look for when shopping around, and different things to consider. We'll also get some fabulous green and home efficiency tips from Carl, who's our Community Development Construction Manager here at HomeWise. And last but not least, we'll discuss when to hire a professional or when to attempt repairs yourself. When we hold our home buyer education workshop, maintenance is the most common disadvantage that we hear from folks, right, who are in that workshop thinking to when they become homeowners. Do you still feel the same way now that you're a homeowner? That is why we wanted to start on this topic with you, having maintenance as module 1 of New Home Now What. As with anything, knowledge is power. For many people, they might be intimidated to fix something or not even sure where to begin, if I have the right tools or what to even do, right? For other people, they might not simply want to deal with that maintenance and they'll call a handy person, right, at the drop of a hat. Or for others, perhaps you are a contractor yourself, and so you're very comfortable with what might need to happen in your home. No matter where you stand, we have some information for you today. I'd like to continue our time together with a quick little game. It's always fun, I think, to start with a little extra something. So I'd like for us to play the tool personality game. You need to choose one of the 4 following tools, all right? One of the 4 following tools. You can choose a hammer, you can choose a Swiss Army knife, a roll of duct tape, or a tape measure. Which one will you choose? As this tool personality game goes, depending on which tool you choose, that will tell us a little bit about your personality. Now, don't put too much stock in this, right? It's just a game, but let's see if it's at all accurate. If you chose the hammer, this person is much like a hammer and exhibits strong personality characteristics which can get the job done or cause a significant amount of damage. The hammer personality needs to understand that the one who holds the hammer should be careful when using it. You can build or destroy with it. Others likely see you as more powerful than you are. Is it close? A little bit if you chose the hammer? Let's go on to the next. The versatile Swiss Army knife is flexible and spontaneous. Does that sound like you? You're quickly adapting to most any situation. Every problem you believe has a solution, and you expect to see creative thinking and have that produce a clever and industrious plan. However, others can, at times, see a person who might throw caution to the wind. Perhaps you chose duct tape. The always adaptable duct tape always has a ready solution. They can fix any situation, but just like duct tape, it might not be the most elegant way. This personality desires to keep the peace and wants everyone to stick together. However, others may see them as lacking conviction when making a stand is important. And last but not least, perhaps you chose the precision tape measure. You like to get things right, and it seems like you may have perhaps a secret rule book in the back of your mind. Rules are very important to you, and solutions to problems will also be very precise, much like the tape measure. However, others may become exasperated when they are expected to comply with your rules that they might not be aware of. So, learning to be flexible and open to how others view a situation is necessary, but certainly not sought by this class of personality. Now, maybe one of these sounded like you. Maybe the one that you chose didn't sound like you at all, but another one did. And again, like I said, it's just a game. Or perhaps you're realizing you're a combination of the two. But I thought we'd start out with a little, if you will, maintenance and tool humor to get this section started. Let's dive in. As I mentioned, there are 3 levels of maintenance. The first is preventative maintenance, and perhaps some of the most important maintenance that we can do on our homes. Preventative maintenance is taking care of small things before they become big, costly expenses. What type of preventative maintenance have you done on your home? Perhaps you've replaced weather stripping on your doors or windows. Maybe you've adjusted door hinges, or you've cleaned out your gutters. All of those things would fall into the category of preventative maintenance. The next level up in the maintenance world is repair or replacement. And this means that as things like appliances or systems wear out over time, they need to be repaired or replaced with new ones. Perhaps you had to get a new washing machine. I know we got a new washing machine. A dishwasher might be coming up soon as well. What types of repairs or replacements have you done in your home so far? The next level, the third level of maintenance, is home improvements. This is going to be big ticket items. They might be required, they might be optional depending on the situation. Have you made any home improvements on your home since you purchased? Maybe you've completed an addition. Maybe you added new flooring. Painting would even be considered a home improvement. Maybe you needed a new roof or new stucco. All of those would fall into this home improvement category of maintenance. In the workbook, we have a comprehensive preventative maintenance checklist that begins on page 7 for you to reference and use. It's an extremely comprehensive list, as I mentioned, so not everything on that list is going to apply to your home specifically. That list contains everything from how to maintain your pool to how to maintain your gutters, and your home may fall someplace in between. What I like about this list is how comprehensive it is, how many things it covers, and the other thing that I find very helpful about it is that it lists when I need to pay attention to these things. It gives me a schedule of when to check. So maybe I want to check some things just as I see them. Maybe I want to check things on an annual basis, maybe once in the spring, once in the fall. A suggested kind of maintenance schedule is to check things at the equinox each year, which would give us one time in the spring and one time in the fall. This is also around when we change our clocks, right? So anytime you change your clock for daylight savings time, that's a good time to look at maintenance around your home. Another tip might be for anything annual, check that out in the month that you purchased your home, right? In that anniversary every year of when you became a homeowner on this particular home. So there's a few little tricks that we can add to our world to perhaps make things easier to keep track of. Oh, I changed the clock, it's time to go do those things. I've been in my home now 6 years, right? Now it's time to go do those things. Having methods in place definitely help us ensure that we are keeping track of that preventative maintenance and also looking to see what larger maintenance, such as those repair or replacement or even home improvement projects, might be coming our way. Doing what we can to make our home safe and secure is extremely important. My colleague Eugene is going to take you through a home, pointing out some of the systems in the home and things that you should know the location of in your home as well, such as exits, gas shutoffs, and more. Take it away, Eugene.
This is the way we check our outlets with the tester. Once you plug your tester in, you'll see the 2 lights turn on. That means that the electrical outlet is operating correctly. Water shutoffs. You have one on the right, which is your cold side. You have one on the left, that's your hot side. If you want to turn them off, you turn them to the right. If you want it on, you turn it to the left. Smoke detectors. They're electricals. They're on the electrical system. They're battery backup. They have 9-volt batteries. They say you should change them every time you change your clocks. This is your cool air return filter. Those are to be changed periodically, at least every 3 months due to the climate and the weather. So we got your electrical panel here. It's all labeled. You have your main shutoff here, and you could turn off individual breakers for each room. This is your main water shutoff. To turn it off, you turn it to the right. To turn it on, you turn it to the left. This is where you shut off the gas. To the right off, to the left on. Emergency shutoff. These are your sewer cleanouts. You have one that goes inside the home and one that goes outside the home. If you ever have a backup, this is where you would snake it out through.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today, Eugene. I really appreciate it, and we're so proud to have you as part of the HomeWise team. Folks, now that you know what you're looking for when it comes to safety and security in your own home, at least part of it, I'd like to encourage you to complete this Map Your Home activity that we have in the workbook. If you haven't yet downloaded the PDF of this workbook, I cannot encourage you enough to do so. There is a ton of valuable information in there for you, not only for this maintenance section, but that carries you through the finances section as well as into community. And it's hopefully a resource for you as you're working on this class, as well as long after as you continue your journey as a homeowner. In your workbook on page 11, as best you can, we're asking you to draw a floor plan of your home. Now, don't worry about how straight the lines are or putting in all of the furniture, but if you can make a basic outline of your home and draw more or less where the rooms are in that home, right, where the walls fall, then you would go on to label the location of specific things in your home, such as your water shutoff, your gas shutoff, your electrical panel, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and fire extinguishers. In just a few minutes, we'll hear from the Santa Fe Fire Department around where those things should be located as well, so this might be a two-part process for you. Knowing the location of these items, y'all, ensures that should you need them, you are not searching the whole house when time really matters. Should a pipe burst, heaven forbid, being able to access your water shutoff right away can lower the amount of damage that might cause, for example. You can pause the video here to complete this activity or wait until after we've heard from the Santa Fe Fire Department as well to get even more tools and tips. But again, I encourage you to know where all of these important shutoffs are in your home so that you can exhibit a little bit of control should you need to in an emergency situation. Next, in case of emergency, have you thought about what you might like to take with you? I'm going to give you 1 minute to write down a list of everything that you would take with you if you had only 1 minute to gather things. Are you ready? I'm going to time you. Get out that pen, right? Get out that pen, and we're going to do this together. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Are you ready? That's 30 seconds. 30 more. Keep going. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time is up, y'all. What are you taking with you? Is it a little anxiety-inducing? It was for me when I did it. A minute goes by really quickly, doesn't it? And you're just making a list, right? You're not even walking through your house or running through your house trying to collect those items. Having a list, knowing what you would take, and knowing the location of those items can definitely help should you need to evacuate in case of an emergency. I used to live out in the country among the big, beautiful ponderosas that we have here in New Mexico, and it was fire season, right? So we had a fire box. It wasn't a fireproof box, it was a tub, but it was the box of things like important documents, photos, and other things that were really important to us that we wanted to be able to grab immediately should we need to evacuate, which could have happened very easily, right? Based upon that rural site where we lived. So maybe that's something that would work for you, right? You don't necessarily have to have that box, but do you know what you would take? And it includes things like medications, pets, clothes, photos is a big one for many people, and other keepsakes that you might have, right? Next, y'all, I would like to welcome the Santa Fe Fire Department to talk more about safety, security, and fire prevention in the home. Thank you so much for joining us today. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Jason Tapia. I'm a Fire Inspector 2 with the City of Santa Fe Fire Department. In all buildings, we recommend having clear, easy access to utilities. As you can see here, we have clear, easy access to this breaker panel. This is an ABC fire extinguisher. It's a universal extinguisher. It can be used on trash, wood, paper, liquids, and electrical, as you can see right here. We recommend this in every building. Smoke detectors inside of residences are very important. It's also important to check them twice a year. We recommend checking them and testing them during daylight savings. It's important to keep a clear path of egress inside of your residence. You never know when an emergency can happen. If it happens in the middle of the night, that stool would be hard to see, so it's important to keep a clear path out. As you can see here, this is an example of a utility closet that's nice and clear and doesn't have storage of any kind of products. Over here we have a dryer. It's important to keep this vent clean and free of lint. And also there's a vent here in the back on the bottom of the dryer that needs to be cleaned every 6 months. We talked about not storing combustible materials inside your house. It's also important to keep a clear path in front of your utility shutoffs. That way, if emergency personnel needs access to them, I have clear, easy access here. There's no trees or lumber blocking this.
Thank you so much. We're so grateful to have you at the Santa Fe Fire Department in our communities. Thank you so much for joining us today. Folks, on page 12 of your workbook, we have a basic toolkit inventory list. Having the right tool for the job will not only make the job easier, but also make your work safer. Using a ladder, for example, is much safer than standing on your very tippy toes on a chair. Check with your local home improvement store for a basic toolbox. Many of them come already together as a kit. Don't buy the cheapest, nor do you need the most expensive. You want your tools to hold up and ideally last many years, and also withstand being used. You want your hammer to have some weight to it, to really use that force, not just all of your own. And you want your screwdrivers to obviously not bend, for example, as you're using them. So that's why that middle grade toolbox might work great for you. Again, checking in with your local home improvement store is a great place to start. We'll talk more about using tools when we get into the contractor versus DIY section in just a few minutes. Next, let's talk about homeowners insurance. There are two basic types of homeowners insurance: hazard and liability. Hazard and liability. Hazard covers you should something in your home, be damaged, right? Should there be a fire, something gets broken, that's hazard coverage. Liability coverage covers you should someone get injured on your property, like the dog bites the mailman, for example, okay? There are also generally two types of policies: replacement cost or actual cash value. Replacement cost or actual cash value. Should something happen to your home and you need to make a claim against your insurance, you'll need a comprehensive list of what you have or what you had in your home that was damaged. One of the simple ways to do this is to make a narrated video of your home as you walk around, looking at each appliance in detail, opening each drawer, looking at your couch, looking at your TV stand, whatever that might be, right? Really taking an inventory of what you have in your home. Doing this via video means that not only are you talking about it, right, because you're narrating this video, but they can also see what types of things you had. And then you could perhaps email yourself this video, upload it to the cloud, wherever you might have any sort of cloud storage, and that way you don't have to worry about where to keep it. I highly recommend that you complete this activity, probably at least once a year at the time that you renew your homeowner's insurance, which is generally going to be in the same month as the anniversary of when you bought your home. Should you get any other kind of big ticket items, anything ranging from jewelry to new electronics, you'll want to document that you now have those as well. You don't necessarily need to do a whole new walkthrough, but take pictures or a video of just those specific items, put it into that same place where you're storing the other video, and it ensures that should you need it, it's there, right? As adults, as homeowners, that's when we officially become adults, y'all, in my mind, right? As homeowners, these are some of the things that we just have to think about, right? No one ever expects their home to burn down, but heaven forbid it happens, you want to be prepared. So next, let's break down those two types of insurance. This is also on page 13 of your workbook. Replacement cost versus actual cash value. The replacement cost policy is usually the best one, the most comprehensive, and while it may be a little bit more expensive, it can be well worth the investment should you actually need to use this insurance. The replacement cost policy pays for the current cost of materials needed for the repair. So it basically reimburses you for things at the current cost, right, of those items. Whereas the actual cash value policy takes depreciation into account, paying only for the remaining value of the items that needed repair or replacement. So let's talk about that with a more tangible example. Let's say that there was recently this crazy hailstorm, right? And it impacted your roof in a really big way. When the storm occurred, your roof was 5 years old. When it was installed, they said that it would last approximately 10 years. So you're halfway through the lifespan of your roof in this example. You get a few quotes from different contractors or roofers and find that it's going to be about $6,000 to repair the damage to your roof. If you have that replacement cost policy, the insurance company in this case will pay the $6,000 that it's going to cost to repair the damage, minus your deductible. There's always deductibles with insurance, right? That you're responsible for paying, but it doesn't take the age of the roof into consideration. It's like this now costs $6,000 to repair. You have $1,000 deductibles. So you're going to cover $1,000, and I'm going to cover $5,000, right? Says the insurance company. For example, check your policy for your details. If you have the actual cash value policy, the insurance company is going to take the lifespan of your roof and how far you are into that lifespan into account. So because we're halfway through in our example, 5 years of the 10-year lifespan, that's 50% depreciation or loss of value for the roof. So they would pay you $3,000 for the repairs, again, minus that deductible. So still if my deductible is $1,000 and they're going to cover $3,000, right, they would cover the remaining $2,000. Check with your insurance provider, review your homeowner's insurance documents to see what you might have. And if you don't understand it, because it is something that's new to many of us, go ahead and give your insurance agent a call, right, to find out what sort of policy you have. If you are shopping around for your insurance, which we recommend you do regularly, especially if you see your price increasing in a pretty big way from one year to the next, you can use the checklist that we've provided for you on page 15 of your workbook. The top part of the page lists the information that you need to provide to give an accurate quote, to get an accurate quote. The middle of the page takes you through the steps of what that's going to look like for you. And then the bottom half of the page gives you 3 places to compare the 3 quotes that I'm encouraging you to get so that you can compare them side by side. Make sure that you're comparing comparable deductibles because that definitely comes into play when you're talking about the annual or monthly amounts that your insurance will cost. Shopping around is worth it, y'all. Start with wherever you have your car insurance. That's a great place. Sometimes if you have more than one type of insurance with a company, they'll offer you some sort of discount, but don't stop there. Because as we'll review in Module 2, your new financial world, your homeowner's insurance is part of your, do you remember? That's right. It's part of your monthly mortgage payment. So finding the best coverage for the best price will directly affect your monthly budget. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Carl, our Community Development Construction Manager at HomeWise. He's going to speak with you about the ways that you can ensure your home is safe, durable, comfortable, energy efficient, and a healthy place for you to be. Thanks so much for joining us today, Carl.
So one thing I like to recommend to folks when they buy a new house for themselves is just to plan ahead for any future things that might come up in terms of maintenance. All the major systems, like in here we have a hot water heater and a furnace. I like to recommend that folks, even if they're operating when you buy the house, there's a good chance at some point down the road it'll stop working. And I recommend folks have a plan in place before they break. Because the worst thing to do is make a decision based on my furnace broke down in the middle of winter, I've got no heat, and I go out and buy the first thing off the shelf or whatever they have, and not actually, because at that point you're probably going to be losing out on a more efficient or higher quality unit. So I like to recommend folks call up a contractor. You know, you should be doing a yearly maintenance on your furnace anyways with a professional HVAC contractor. When they're there, one of those years, just ask them to put an estimate together and give a few options if you want. And I would recommend a high efficiency furnace like this one, a 95% or better furnace. And then, so get some pricing on that and have that sort of planned out. So when something does happen, you're ready and you're not going to make a decision that you regret for the next 15 or 20 years. Another thing that you find a lot when you go into homes is folks, you know, buy a new house, want to put their fresh touch on it. They'll do their own paint in the living room or whatever. And then they'll go ahead and store their paint where they think is a sensible place in the furnace closet or utility closet. I recommend not doing that. You don't want something that has any sort of toxic elements at all, whether it's the VOCs in paint or even cleaning products close to your furnace or your water heater or anything that has a combustion appliance. Okay, cool. So we're in a newer house here, so the weather stripping around the door is installed perfectly and makes a good seal with the door. But a lot of folks, when they're buying their house, be buying an existing house, might have either no weather stripping at all, or a lot of times you'll see dogs chew up the bottom section and it makes for a bad seal. Same thing with the threshold at the bottom. And so in that case, you can go ahead and buy retrofit kits down at the hardware store and install those. What you want to make sure you do is just make sure it has a nice tight fit so you're not getting unnecessary draft through the doors in those cold months. And one really easy way to check to see if you're having unnecessary air leakage around your door is just, you know, take a look, see if some light's coming through the bottom or even around the sides. And if you see any daylight, you can be sure that the cold air is going to be drafting through that.
Thanks again, Carl. As usual, I learned so much when we chat. And I've added things to my maintenance checklist that I need to take care of at home to make my home a better and safer place to be. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. In your workbook, y'all, beginning on page 16, we have a ton more information about enhancing your home's efficiency, as well as some ideas for green cleaning and more. Let's take a quiz together to find out how green savvy we may be at this point in time, and which ideally will also give you some tools and tips to save money each month on our bills. You ready? This is our green quiz. Let's do it. The typical bathtub holds how many gallons of water? 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 35, or 40 to 50? That's right, 40 to 50 gallons in the typical bathtub. One of the home improvements we made was a much deeper bathtub, so that means that mine holds even more than that. It really puts it in perspective as far as how much water might be going down the drain. If a shower head indicates a gallons per minute of 2.5 GPM, you'll see it referred as, and you take a 10-minute shower, how many gallons of water are you using? 20 gallons, 25 gallons, 30 gallons, or 35 gallons? That's right. Back to some basic math, we can do it, 25 gallons in that 10-minute shower. A study by the Natural Resources Defense Council, or the NRDC, found that some game consoles, if left on, just even in that standby mode, use as much energy per year as 1 refrigerator, 2 refrigerators, or 3 refrigerators. 2 refrigerators. That one game console that may be on in your living room or in your kiddo's room uses as much energy as 2 refrigerators a year if left on in that standby mode. So don't be afraid to unplug it. Next. Phantom energy can account for how much of a household's energy bill. Phantom energy is energy that's not actively being used, all right? Phantom energy happens when we leave appliances plugged in, such as the toaster oven that you're not using at that moment in time, the coffee maker, the cell phone charger that's just always plugged in but doesn't always have your phone attached, right? So how much of our monthly energy bill can that account for? up to 10%. Up to 10% of our monthly energy bill can be attributed to this energy that we're not using. So unplug those cell phone chargers when you're not using them. Unplug the toaster oven, unplug the coffee pot. Toaster oven's a tricky one though. If you're like me, mine still clicks when you turn the knob, but it doesn't heat. And then you may or may not end up with a frustrated partner or just a non-melted quesadilla. So heads up, all right, on that toaster oven. Next. The Center for Healthy Homes recommends the following for good cleaning and housekeeping strategies. This one, we're looking for 2. Do a regular cleaning with a HEPA vacuum with a beater bar for carpets. Wet mop once a month. Use typical cleaning products found on the grocery market shelf, or ignore dust. It's everywhere. We are here in New Mexico after all. I wish it were D, I try, but the answer is actually A and B. Use a good vacuum with a good filter and wet mop once a month. Next question. Assuming each is used for the same amount of time, so let's say we use each of these things for an hour, which appliance in each pair uses more electricity? Pair 1, a clock radio or an aquarium? It's the aquarium. It's all those little bubbles. Clothes washer or the clothes dryer? Clothes dryer. Where there's heat, there's more energy. Ceiling fan or toaster? Toaster, right? Again, where there's heat, there's more energy, but it seems counterintuitive because the fan is moving the whole time. And last, coffee maker or clothes washer? Coffee maker, again, the heat. Next, dual flush toilets mean you have to flush twice. There are 2 separate water tanks in the toilet. You use one lever for number 1 and one lever for number 2. Or you flush after every other use. The answer is B. There are 2 separate water tanks in the toilet. That's a great way to reduce your water impact should you be remodeling your bathroom or adding a bathroom or just wanting to reduce your use in that way. Getting a low flow toilet and or that dual flush can make a really big difference in your water bill. A slow drip, which I can't tell you exactly how big it is or how slow is, but a slow drip can waste about how much water annually? 50 gallons, 125 gallons, 170 gallons, or 250 gallons? The information that we have from this quiz is that it can waste up to 170 gallons of water annually. Perhaps this is a drippy faucet that you have in the bathroom that just doesn't seem to turn off, or maybe it's at your spigot outside. Paying attention to those drips, again, this is all going on your water bill too, right? So that's an extra 170 gallons that you're using each year. And well, you're not actually really using it, are you? But you're paying for it, right? So fixing those saves water and saves you money. Compact fluorescent lighting, CFLs, you may have heard of them. These are the spirally ones. Uses 75% less energy than their incandescent counterparts. The incandescent bulbs are kind of the classic ones that you can feel the heat coming off of. Is this true or false? It's true. Those CFLs use 75% less energy than the incandescents, and guess what? The LEDs, which yes, they're a little bit more expensive, but they last way longer, use up to 90% less energy than those original incandescent bulbs. So investing in those better light bulbs will definitely make a big difference in your electricity bill. Cheap alternative cleaning solutions include vinegar, baking soda, hydrogen peroxide, or all of the above. That's right, the answer is all of the above. You can do a very good, effective job of cleaning your home inside and out with just these 3 items. You don't have to necessarily go for the really heavy-duty cleaners and the bleach and that sort of thing. And these are all safer for the environment as well. The R value of insulation indicates the material's resistance to heat loss, the thickness of the insulation, the type of insulation, or the weight of the insulation. Good. You're thinking it through. The R value indicates the material's resistance to heat loss, A here on the board. The better the R value, right, the better insulation that is, the more it's going to keep the heat out in the summer and keep the heat in the winter. So again, if you're making any home improvements, increasing that insulation can be a great energy saving tool for you, and therefore money saving as well. The last question I have for you in the green quiz is turning down your thermostat. So we're talking heat season, right? Turning down your thermostat by just 1 degree can save up to how much on your bill, on your heating bill? 3%, 5%, 8%, or 10%? It's 3%. And you may say, well, Rachel, that's the smallest percentage up here, but that's just 1 degree. Right? That's just 1 degree. Having my thermostat at 65 versus 68, say, especially at night, that's saving me up to 10% during those hours. Well, 9%, right? Saving me almost 10% during those hours. So making those small changes, wearing that sweatshirt in the home, using a blanket while you're on the couch, that sort of thing can make a big difference. And in the summer, right? Wearing short sleeves in your house instead of long sleeves, that sort of thing, right, can make a difference so that you don't have to have your AC set as low either. So I hope you have learned some quick and easy green improvements that you can make in your own home through this green quiz, as well as from all of the knowledge that Carl shared with us as well. It doesn't take much to have a huge impact on our own personal monthly financial world, and to have a big impact on our big world together, right, on our planet and on our resources. Let's begin to consider doing things yourself, also known as DIY, versus hiring a contractor. If you're going to complete the repairs yourself, it's important that you have the right tools for the job. It increases your likelihood of success, and also increases your likelihood of keeping things safe. As I mentioned earlier, you can pick up a basic yet comprehensive toolkit at your local hardware store. Some of the items you should have are listed on page 12 and include things like a 6-foot step ladder, wrenches, screwdrivers, pliers, duct tape, a dustpan, electrical tape, work gloves, a hammer, handsaw, a level, plunger, safety goggles, earplugs, and more. So definitely check out that list. It might not all come in that one toolbox that you get, but they can definitely show you those additional items that you might want to add. You don't have to add them all right away, right? You can build this into your budget and add things little by little. Once you have the tools, now you're ready to assess if you can complete the job or not. Now, this is assuming you might even like to try to complete this job. But I know some of you might like to just begin by finding a good handy person right off the bat. And that's great. They can often cover a wide range of tasks, bringing their skills to your home. So check with friends, neighbors, and maybe even your online community for suggestions for a good, reliable person to call to meet your needs. If you are considering doing the project yourself or hiring a contractor, here are some of the questions that you might want to ask. Do you have the ability to do this project? Do you have the time needed to successfully complete this project? Do you have the correct tools for the job, or can you borrow them? Many home improvement stores have a tool rental program. The Habitat for Humanity in your area might also have a tool lending library, or maybe your neighbor or friend or a family member has some of the tools that you might need as well that you might be able to borrow. Have you thought about the other issues that this smaller project might lead to, or issues that it might cause? All right. For example, we recently completed a remodel in my home, and I pushed it a bit to take down some paneling that was in our dining room. No other paneling in the house, so I said, I want that out of there. Once we got it down, y'all, we discovered that the drywall was in terrible shape, and that was the reason that was the only place in the house that had this paneling from the 70s. That was the easiest solution, right? We couldn't put it back up. It was already in pieces for how it came down. So in came the person to repair the drywall, adding both time and expense and stress to the original project. So just try to plan for those things. We can't always, right? But keep in mind as far as what else might come your way. Once you have answered these questions, you may realize that you can do all of the project, you can do some of the project, and the rest might require a contractor. So perhaps it is a mix of the two. So let's say I'm considering a bathroom remodel. Something like installing a new light fixture, I might want to call a licensed electrician, or I can also perhaps take a class at my local home improvement store to learn how to do that, right? So I might be able to do that myself. What if I'm adding in a new sink, a new toilet, anything with plumbing? I would encourage you to hire that licensed plumber. It can get really messy really quickly if you're cutting things incorrectly, right? Suddenly there's water everywhere. Drywall patching, that perhaps is also another class that you can take at your local home improvement store and do it yourself. And the new paint color, you could do that as well, right? Most folks might be able to do that. So you might be able to have kind of this hybrid of part you, right, part DIY, and part contractor to meet your needs. So we have the tools, we're ready for some jobs, but there are times when we need to hire a professional to get the job done well and safely. You want to make sure that if you're hiring a contractor, they are licensed, bonded, and insured. If someone is licensed, it means that they are permitted to conduct business in the state where they are licensed. It also usually implies that they have received extensive training. If your contractor is bonded, this means that should anything go wrong and should you file a complaint against the company or the contractor, the bond would look into your claim and potentially pay you out of the bond. If they're also insured, which you also want them to be, this means that if the contractor or one of their employees gets hurt on the job on your property, then they'll use that insurance, right, for that insurance claim. It's another level of protection for you. Essentially, it's like the liability coverage that we have on our homeowners insurance, but that they have it on their side for themselves. Again, you want to make sure that if you're hiring a contractor, they are licensed, bonded, and insured. Also consider getting references. This might take you out of your comfort zone a little bit, but it's something that I would definitely encourage you to do. Ask the contractor for 3 recent folks that they've worked for and call each one of them to find out how did it go working with them? Did they finish the job on time? Did it come in more or less around where they had quoted that job, right, with that estimate? And those are important questions to ask. It will help you to ensure that you're making a smart and cost-effective decision. Also keep in mind that your contractor will probably want a deposit before they begin the work. Remember to not completely pay for the job until that job is completed, and not only completed, but until you are sure you are satisfied with the work. It's not to say that they would necessarily take off, right? But you want to ensure that everything is how you want it before you're paying that final bill. Again, protecting your own financial interests. If it's a bigger project, HomeWise can also help you with a home improvement loan or perhaps a cash out refinance. And we discuss both of those in more detail in Module 2, Your New Financial World. Well, everyone, that brings us to the end of New Home, Now What? Module 1, Maintaining Your Home. I hope you have learned a lot today and now have more of the tools, tips, and information that you need to be a successful and sustainable homeowner. Go back to the main page where you accessed this video to access the next module when you are ready. That next module is Your New Financial World. Thank you so much for joining me today. Take care, and we'll see you next time.